Right now on Up with KREM, it's been 1 year since 4 COVID patients came to Spokane for treatment. Jen York is live all morning long from Sacred Heart Medical Center. Jen?
Yeah, good morning, Tim. Good morning to everyone at home. Here we are closing in on the 1-year mark of the first COVID-19 patients here in Spokane. Certainly, we're not the last cases that we saw here. We're going to be walking you through what we experienced here in 2020 and what we can look forward to in 2021.
This morning, I'm taking a look back at COVID-19 case rates over the last year to get a better look at how we match up today.
And I'm going to take you outside, talk a fresh coating of snow and what that means for your morning commute.
Up with KREM begins now.
Well, good morning. Happy Friday, everyone. Great to have you with us here on Up with KREM. I'm Jen York. This morning I am live here just outside Sacred Heart Medical Center in Spokane. Now we are closing in on the 1-year mark of the first COVID-19 patients arriving in Spokane. Today, 1 year ago, we learned that Spokane would be taking in some of those patients from California. And then tomorrow is the 1-year mark when they arrived here in our city. Now this morning I'm breaking down the events over the past year and how they compare with our life today. Joshua Robinson is also going to be looking at the COVID-19 case rates and our numbers over the past year and what we're looking at today in both Washington and in Idaho. But first, of course, we have to mention the weather. We got a fresh round of snow overnight. Jeremy Legoo joining us now with what else we can expect as we get our day started. Hi, Jeremy.
Oh, well, good morning, Jen, and good morning, everybody back at home. Just kind of looking at some of the snow totals around the region, trying to bring you the latest, but it basically seems like we're close to 3 here in Spokane. You cross the border and head into Idaho, some places close to 4 inches. You head up into the mountains, about a half a foot. It's a good coating of snow as we kick things off this morning. And with temperatures in the upper 20s, it's a slick start to the day. Even on some of those roads that look good, we are getting some reports of some slipping and sliding out there, so be ready for it. For the most part, snow kind of moving out. We'll hang on to a few lingering showers. You can even see some of those getting squeezed out right around 4th of July Pass. That'll move up and over Lookout Pass down to our south. It's a wintry mix, little rain, little snow, little in between there for Pomeroy and over into Lewiston. That'll move out. Temperatures climb later today. For most of us, it's still in the 30s, but above freezing. And in those higher elevations, it's still cold enough that a lot of what falls is snow. That mid-30s might look appealing and look like it's snow melting, but with clouds sticking around, it's likely those roads stay a bit slick.
All right, Jeremy, thank you. Back out here live this morning here in Spokane. We're talking about what we've experienced here in the past year. 1 year ago today, we were talking about the arrival of our first COVID-19 patients coming to Spokane, and we were walking you through what to expect, but of course no one could know what else we would encounter in 2020. It was about a month excuse me, after our first cases that Governor Jay Inslee issued a statewide shutdown and stay-at-home order. Now at the time, that was only expected to last 2 weeks. Now this morning we're comparing the first state shutdown to what we're experiencing today. Back in March 2020, only essential businesses could remain open. Under that order, restaurants could stay open, but they had to provide takeout. Well, now restaurants are open to visitors, but only at 25% capacity. Places like gyms and theaters shut down in 2020. Today, they are open, but with restrictions. Of course, Joshua Robinson has been tracking our case rates over the course of the past year, and most recently they played a big role in reopening and deciding what phase we can be in with reopening. So Joshua joining us now to walk us through the past year, but what we're looking at today. Hi, Joshua.
Hey, Jen, I feel like I've spent more of the last year here in front of this graphic than anywhere else because it really has been a whirlwind because those case numbers have been changing a lot over the past year, and at times it's felt totally frenzied, but we're going to look back at how that case rate progression moved over the last year and really get some perspective on where we're at right now. We're going to start by looking all the way back in Spokane County at March 14th in 2020, the first case of the coronavirus reported in our area. Now, Of course, the cases steadily rise from that point, increasing into the summer, but they still seem really small compared to where we eventually got to by the winter. But as we hit about the 6-month mark, we did see things kind of slow down for the most part in early September. There was a gradual increase that started to begin, followed by a spike. And that was where we really started heading towards the high numbers that would eventually lead to early December when Spokane County reported 682 cases, its highest case day on December 8th. Now, across state line, a little bit different because there were 410 cases reported on December 9th in Kootenai County. That was the highest number they had seen, but they have not dropped, or they've not topped that. They've only had a downward trend ever since. And the Regional Health District in Spokane just reported 100 new cases yesterday. The Panhandle Health District reported 40 cases. Together, though, Spokane and Kootenai counties have reported over 54,000 cases of the coronavirus since March. Jen?
All right, Joshua, thank you. And of course, we have to give a big shout out this morning to our local nurses and frontline healthcare workers putting themselves essentially in harm's way to keep the rest of us safe and taking care of those who need it most. And of course, some of those nurses included recent graduates being thrown into the workplace in the middle of a pandemic. Now, we talked to one nurse who was new on the job last year, and she says, while it was tough, it was worth it.
What a perfect picture. 2 nursing students just trying to survive school. That's Alexa Faye and her classmate. Of course, pre-pandemic, when Alexa was a graduating senior in WSU's nursing program.
I graduated in May, so almost a year now.
Meaning 1 year ago, Alexa was finishing up her last, arguably most critical semester of nursing.
There's always this sort of expectation in nursing, like you go through your clinicals and then you go to senior practicum, and that's really where you get the meat and bones of like what it's like to be a nurse.
But right when COVID hit, doctors' offices canceled those clinical experiences.
One of the most stressful things is just not really knowing, you've seen these nurses and you've kind of seen what they do, but you haven't spent a 12-hour shift with them.
They needed the students to step away for a while because they had to really focus and transition their services.
On top of that, online classes made it hard for students to learn the physical skills.
Learning how to do certain procedures or skills in simulated environments before they go out into the clinical environment.
So WSU made changes, having smaller in-person groups, social distancing, and wearing masks. And as clinics started settling into the new COVID regulations, WSU pushed to get their students back into their clinical positions. Making all these changes paid off.
We were able to make that transition to remote learning to get our students through their clinical education requirements and get them graduated on time.
Which is exactly what Alexis did after graduating.
So it's just been really interesting to kind of have that be your first nursing experience.
Now she's coming up on a year working as a registered nurse, saying she's thankful for how everything worked out. In Spokane, Nicole Hernandez, KREM 2 News.
Well, thank you to her and all of our nurses again and our frontline healthcare workers for the past year and all your hard work. Of course, we've been through so much in the past year since the arrival of our first COVID-19 patients here in Spokane. If you'd like a timeline of everything that we've been through, you can text COVID to 509-448-2000. And Tim, as I was reflecting on what we were talking about a year ago, there is one thing that really stood out to me. 1 year ago, we were talking about the Special Pathogens Unit. COVID-19 was still new. We didn't have any confirmed cases here in Spokane. We were bringing in these patients to the Special Pathogens Unit. Providence told us at that time every nurse who was working in that unit volunteered for that job. So hats off to them.
Absolutely. The frontline healthcare workers are definitely our heroes of 2020 and 2021. We thank them for the work that they're doing. All right, well, we've seen many restaurants in our area close down because of the pandemic, but right now we're seeing a growing number of them reopen and even some new ones pop up. After the break, we're talking with Adam Hegstead, the owner of Wandering Table. He's telling us some exciting news about something new coming to Kendall Yards.
And Hollywood has been in town making a film set right here in the Inland Northwest. I sat down with the makers of the movie. I'm going to tell you who stars in it and why they decided on Spokane to create it. I'll tell you all about at the top of the hour.